Hello, this is Kevin Smith, and this is a recording of the Personal Finance Lab New Features webinar for Fall 2021. So as a brief overview, we're going to go over, I'm first going to talk about general improvements to the Personal Finance Lab platform. I'm going to get into some improvements to our stock game, focusing on our new research tools, enhancements to our budgeting game, talking about enhancements to our assignments engine and our curriculum, and some improvements to our admin interface for teachers. So first thing, starting out with our general improvements. The biggest one for most teachers is our new partnership with WISE. So WISE offers an industry-recognized financial literacy certification. Students will need to take a proctored exam in order to achieve this certification, but you can now sign up through Personal Finance Lab. The pricing on top of a standard Personal Finance Lab site license would be $10 per student for students to take the final proctored test, or you can have a package for $12 per student, which includes a pre-test to help students get prepared. We do work with WISE to show that our curriculum is industry recognized to help students actually get be fully financially literate after they graduate high school. This is not part of the Personal Finance Lab site itself. It's just an add-on you can get when you order your licenses for your school. Now into the main things that are actually inside Personal Finance Lab. First and foremost is our new dashboard. So the new dashboard on Personal Finance Lab we actually released late last spring, but this is it's been polished and enhanced for classes this fall. So when I go into the new dashboard now, the first thing that you'll notice is that I have my assignments front and center with a countdown showing how long I have to do it. This is the most important thing that most teachers want their students to see when they first sign in. As a student, I see exactly what's expected of me and what my progress is for every item on the list. I get a summary of my stock game and my budget game progress. If I'm in a class that is not using the stock game or the budget game, these would not be appearing for students for whom it is not relevant. There's also words of the day, other information about the stock game and the budget game for students. So we're doing our best to bring more information right when the student logs in so they can see it and interact with it right away. This also leads into our second major enhancement, which is our navigation update. The number one feedback we were getting from teachers and students last semester was that there was some complications in how students actually interacted with the Personal Finance Lab website. A lot of this came down to the fact that we used to have different menus on different pages of the site to give students more interaction with what they were currently looking at, but that could make it difficult to move between different pieces of the site very easily. The new version has a new menu. You can see here the menu actually folds out into a much bigger selection, so you can see everything you need relating to each piece in one place. So when I'm over the stock game, I have both my portfolio, my trading options, and my tutorial videos all in one place. Likewise, with my budget game, I have everything regarding my budget game. This also means that for teachers, we put your administration tools right in the main menu as well under administration. So all of your, the ability to create new classes, edit your class settings, post announcements, manage your assignments are all up here in your administration menu. And this last menu here is for all of the teachers' reports. So we made it a lot easier to get between everything you're looking for, and you'll have a lot fewer steps to get from one piece of our platform to the others. The last piece is onboarding. So when students sign into Personal Finance Lab for the first time, we find it very important to do some hand holding. So you as the teacher need to spend less time in your class showing students how to use Personal Finance Lab and more time actually experiencing it to get the learning aspects. So the first time your students come in, they'll be presented with a tour. And this walks them through the different pieces of the stock game and the budget game. There's also a tour that triggers when students go in for the first time into the stock game, and there's also a tour even for teachers the first time you log into your admin panel. All of those things are there to help both you and your students get more familiar with Personal Finance Lab without kind of mucking around and trying to find one thing or another, because there's a lot here and we're trying to make sure that you can use all of it for your classes. Next up are the enhancements to the stock game. So we've made many background enhancements to the stock game over the summer, but most of them are subtle and you might not notice them for the first time in your class. The biggest thing that you will notice, however, is our mutual fund research tools. So in the research tools at the top of the page, we have our new fund, mutual and ETF research section. This includes things like fund overviews that talk about how each mutual fund and ETF have performed over time. We also have research tools going through fund holdings, so what is in each of these funds, fund performance, which kind of breaks down how this fund has been performing over time. So focusing on mutual funds is always a very important of every personal finance class in the investing unit, and this is another way to help students understand the difference between mutual funds and research different options. Next up, we have the enhancements to our budgeting game. So our budget game, we are continuing our progress on producing all new types of cards. So we're adding more graphics. Our team has been hard at work over the summer, creating hundreds of new graphics throughout the game to make it even more engaging for students. Visually more appealing, visually more tangible of what students are actually interacting with as they play the game. In terms of the actual functionality of the game, one of the biggest changes is that the paychecks have been improved. So particularly in full-time mode, instead of students getting a weekly paycheck while they're a full-time worker, they'll get a paycheck every 2 weeks, which is a little bit more realistic for an actual worker. There's, again, numerous enhancements to the budget game behind the scenes. We've added tons of new events over the summer, and there's more lessons built into it, but those are going to be a little bit more subtle where you might not see them right away. Now, our assignment enhancements, those are more obvious. You'll notice them right away whenever you sign in to create your class this fall. The first and foremost is a big curriculum update. This is the biggest curriculum update we've done ever. We've had over 100 lessons have been updated, particularly in our Investing 101 curriculum. But on the personal finance side, we've also added new lessons on student loans, career development, renting and leasing, taxation, employment and income, and several other topics that were a little bit lacking in the past. So as always, our curriculum enhancements are driven by the teacher's demand. So if there's lessons that you want us to be covering that aren't in your class already, let us know and we'll start working on it. As always, our lessons always pride ourselves on the interactivity and the way it builds up together with all the rest of the game. Also on the assignment side, starting this semester, we're adding new grading and logging mechanisms to help you see a bigger picture of your class. So as you can see here, these new reports are going to let you do a deep dive into each student's progress on each of the quizzes throughout the platform. In the old version of PersonalFinanceLab's assignments, all we would store is the fact that your students completed a lesson and the overall grade. So you could see, for example, that one of your students got an 80%, but you wouldn't be able to see which questions they got right and wrong. The new version will tell you exactly where the students were getting the questions right and wrong, both at the individual student level and a class summary report to show where your class as a whole is starting to get tripped up. We also keep timestamps so you can see which students are taking longer to complete the lessons than others. We're going to also be including timestamps when you create your assignment to give you a little bit more guidance on how much work you're asking your students to do. On the administration side, purely for teachers, we also have a bunch of improvements to help you manage your class. First and foremost is our new TA accounts. So there's many cases where you might have multiple teachers teaching a class. The way Personal Finance Lab has been in the past is that only one teacher would be able to see the reports, which is not necessarily the way you want to run the class. But now you have the ability to create what we call TA accounts, where if you have two teachers, both of them are in the same class, the teacher who created the class can designate the other teacher as a TA, which would give them access to all of the class reports. The only thing the other teacher wouldn't be able to do is change the core class settings, like the budget game dates or the stock game dates, but they would be able to manage the assignments. So this is a really good way to manage your class in partnerships. To actually utilize the TA accounts, you would go into your reports under the administration section and go to your registration file report. So your registration file report is right over here. Oh, it's under administration itself, actually, sorry. Registration file and password resets. So this is the same page where if you have students who need to have their username and password reset, you can do it there. If you want to generate new student accounts without having your students register, you can do it here as well. But the new version is having a TA. So if you have another teacher in here, you can just click this button to flag them as a TA, which would let them access all of your class reports. In terms of using Personal Finance Lab in your class, we are about to release our new 9-week and 18-week Personal Finance course outlines. These outlines are going to simplify your class creation quite a bit by showing you the exact recommended sequence that we have for all the lessons in Personal Finance Lab. As you might expect, we start by focusing on budgeting and we go into investing, and then we start building on the other financial concepts from there. So You don't need to take our course outlines wholesale, but it is a really good starting point where if it's the first time you're using Personal Finance Lab, it's the activities throughout the platform that are going to make your class, it's going to take your class to the next level. As always, it's going to be fully customizable, so you can still pick and choose the individual lessons you want to include in your class. Along the same lines, we're also building new unit introductions and reviews. This is coming a little bit later in the semester, probably mid-September. By pairing this with our recommended course outlines, we're going to give the students a short introduction lesson on some of the core concepts in Personal Finance Lab. So for example, we're developing a unit on budgeting and a unit on credit and a unit on insurance. So instead of having 4 different lessons on health insurance and car insurance and homeowners insurance, there'll be a unit introduction that talks about unit insurance as a whole and risk management. And then after students go through the individual lessons on insurance, there'll be a unit review that brings it all together as well. So there's still more coming, but this is a pretty good teaser of what you're going to be expecting as you first start setting up your class for this fall. If you have any questions, you can email me at kevin@personalfinancelab.com. If you don't have Personal Finance Lab already, you can go to personalfinancelab.com/getpersonalfinancelab to sign up your class. And you can also go to our blog at personalfinancelab.com/blog for our latest updates and features. So we look forward to serving your classes this fall, and have a great semester.